Greetings. My name is Charles Hurt, and this is an introduction to the ZPost Fence Estimator. ZPost is a web page, and when it starts it looks like this. Because it's a web page, it can be used from a Mac, PC, tablet, or smartphone. On the right hand side we see a shop drawing, which is where you can change specifications for your estimate. And individual fields can be clicked. For example, let's say I want to change the fabric type. If I click on 11 gauge fabric right there, I can choose from new selection. For example, I could choose fabric with slats and make it gray. Or I could choose just as easily 9 gauge fabric. If I want to shortcut the process, I can just choose a starting point. And in this case I'm looking at a residential starting point to start with. I could just as easily have switched over to an industrial shop drawing with 3 strands of barbed wire, and notice that all the specifications change, and this is according to whatever standard you will use. For example, I'm using full weight posts and full weight end posts in my my industrial applications. If I go back to residential, I'll see that I'm using tubing for my end posts. So the first step in creating an estimate is specification, which is done either by choosing individual fields, or if you want to go faster, you just choose a starting point. The second step is fence layout. If I click here on layout, I see a canvas, and I can click the layout of a fence. Alright, each segment here is a run, and notice that each run starts with a 0 length. In order to change the length, I just click on that length, and up pops this little box, and I'm going to choose, let's say, I'm going to call this run 32 feet. There's 32 feet, and I'm going to click on this run, and instead of it being a fabric run, I'm going to say that this is a double drive gate. And let's call this, I don't know, 34 feet. So I'm going to click 34, click on double drive gate, and then I'll click on this last run, and I call that, I'll say 43 feet and 3 inches. Now, believe it or not, my entire estimate is done, and to prove that, I'll click on the bill of materials, and I'll see all the parts necessary creating this estimate, including the prices and the quantities. Notice that the double drive gate I specified is consolidated as one line item. If I want to go look at the breakdown of that gate, I can click on gates and then choose from the required gates the gate that I've added to my estimate, and here I see a shop drawing for that gate. If I click on show fab sheet, I see the details that are necessary in order to create this gate. This is, of course, something you would hand something to your welder in a shop, and that person would have all the necessary dimensions and materials and information required to create this gate. I'm going to show a quick example of one of the more of an advanced feature. For example, if I click on details, I could add a kick plate or panic bar or hydraulic closer just by clicking on one of those and then adding a price. So I'm going to click on end post over here on the shop drawing to take us back to where we originally were. Now, if your customer calls up and says, no, that was not a 6-foot fence, that's an 8-foot fence, simply clicking on the height and changing it will recalculate everything, and in particular the gates as well. So let me click on gates, and I'm going to click on edit gate. Now notice that this has followed along. It's an 8-foot gate, and if you click on fab sheet, all the necessary information is there too. And in fact, if I click on the bill of materials, everything is available. There is one mistake here. It turns out that there's no such thing as a 10-foot tubing with 1 7/8 diameter. So if I click on Fix It, I see the setup for each post type, for example, end post, corner post, on down to line post. Here I'm going to change my line post to structural. If I click on Build Materials again, I see that that's no longer a problem. So there are two steps. First is specification, which you change what you see here in the shop drawing, or you go the fast route and you select from a predetermined setup. The second is you click on the fence layout, lay out your fence, and the third step is to show the bill of materials. Now, of course, I'm not showing you everything. There are several advanced features, but advanced features are not as prominent as the mainstream features. If I were, for example, to click on 2-foot set, I have the set for each post type, and I have a range of choices I can, and by the way, when I say set, I mean what's underground, or at the bottom of a post, so I can change up to a 6-foot set, for example. I could use different kinds of flanges, I could create my own adapter, I could change the set diameter, I could create a driven post or a pull post, and change other parameters and more advanced fields. This details area is where you'll find more advanced fields. So that is a quick introduction to the ZPost Fence Estimator. I hope you enjoyed it. Please contact me if you are interested in learning more about it.